Did you know that Full Metal Jacket wasn't filmed in Vietnam? It was filmed in a place that shocked everyone. The movie that feels so real, so raw, and so dangerous was actually shot in an old gasworks factory in London. Stanley Kubrick never left England. He didn't need to. He built Vietnam on a soundstage and made it look more real than the real thing. This film changed war movies forever. It showed soldiers as humans, not heroes. It showed chaos, fear, and dark humor all mixed together. The stories behind this film are just as wild as what you see on screen. Let's dive in and discover 20 weird and amazing facts about Full Metal Jacket. Number 20. The sniper who wasn't trained. The actress who played the enemy sniper, Papillon Sao, had never acted before in her life. Kubrick found her on the streets and asked her to be in the movie. She didn't know any acting techniques. She didn't study scripts. She just showed up and did what the director told her. What makes this even stranger is that her scene became one of the most memorable moments in cinema history. That haunting, desperate face you see through the scope? Pure emotion, pure real fear. It wasn't training or years of experience. It was a real person in front of a real camera, terrified and raw. What looked like a professional performance was actually someone experiencing real emotions for the first time on film. That's not always acting. Sometimes it's just truth. Number 19. R. Lee. Ermey and the real drill sergeants, R. Lee Ermey, who played Gunnery Sergeant Hartman, was a real-life Marine drill sergeant before he became an actor. Kubrick gave him freedom to improvise his insults and screaming. Most of what you hear was not scripted. Ermey created that incredible torrent of abuse from his real experience. The other actors weren't prepared for how intense it would be. They thought they were acting. Instead, they were getting genuinely yelled at by someone who knew exactly how to break people down. Many of the soldiers on set had never heard language like that before. They weren't acting their shock and fear. It was real. Ermey's performance became so famous that the Marines actually started showing clips of him to real recruits during training. A Hollywood actor became a teaching tool for actual military instruction. The lines between movie and reality blurred completely. Number 18. The actress had only one day to prepare. Arliss Howard, who played Cowboy, was not the original actor cast for that role. Changes happened last minute. Howard got the call and had to show up the next day ready to film. He didn't have weeks of rehearsal. He didn't have time to bond with the cast or understand the character deeply. He just stepped into the chaos and tried to survive. This wasn't unusual for Kubrick's sets. The director created tension on purpose. He believed stress made better performances. Real confusion and real nerves made the acting feel authentic. Howard's uncertainty and struggle actually helped the film. You can sense something genuine in his performance because he was genuinely struggling. What felt like a carefully prepared moment was actually someone flying by the seat of his pants. That's the secret Kubrick knew. Sometimes the best acting happens when actors don't have time to overthink. Number 17. The double amputation was real. When you see Private Cowboy crawl through the streets dragging his legs, that wasn't just movie magic. The actor really was moving like that. Kubrick used camera angles, lighting, and the actor's actual movement to create the illusion. But here's the thing. It still took incredible pain and physical endurance. The actor had to crawl through dirt and debris. He had to move in ways that hurt. He had to stay in character while his body was screaming. Other actors watched this happen. They felt the realness of it. They understood that this wasn't pretend suffering. This was actual human struggle right in front of them. That's why the reactions you see are so genuine. The other soldiers weren't acting shock. They were experiencing it. The camera captured real emotion because real pain was happening. It looked brutal, and it was brutal. No special effects could make it feel this authentic. Number 16. Stanley Kubrick never stopped filming. Kubrick was obsessed with perfection. He would film the same scene 50 times, 100 times, sometimes 200 times. Actors would have to repeat their lines over and over. They would have to cry or scream or break down repeatedly, each time trying to make it fresh and real. Matthew Modine, who played Joker, has said that the mental exhaustion was as hard as the physical exhaustion. You can't fake emotions 200 times. Your body runs out of fuel. Your mind runs out of energy. What you're left with is pure, exhausted authenticity. The scenes that look so powerful on screen were often filmed after actors had already given everything. They were performing on empty, which made their performances even more real. This torture created art. Kubrick believed that repeated failure led to genuine truth. The actors suffered so you would believe. That's not just directing, that's psychological warfare disguised as filmmaking. Number 15. The first half and second half feel like different movies. The boot camp section is tight, controlled, and claustrophobic. Everything is rhythm and routine. Then suddenly, the movie shifts. The second half is loose, chaotic, and unpredictable. That was intentional. Kubrick wanted you to feel the shift from order to chaos. The first half breaks you down like the military breaks down recruits. The second half shows you what broken soldiers do in war. Two different tones, two different paces, two different stories. But they're the same movie. This structure was revolutionary. Most war films keep the same tone throughout. Kubrick understood that war itself changes tone. It starts with noise and discipline. It ends with confusion and survival. The actors had to completely shift their energy halfway through. It was like doing two movies in one. No other film had tried this before. The genius was making these two completely different halves feel like they belonged together. It looked seamless, but it required a complete mental reset. Number 14. Actor Matthew Modine. Nearly quit Matthew Modine, the lead, was so stressed by Kubrick's intense directing style that he considered walking away. The constant retakes, the pressure, the psychological games, it all nearly broke him. He wanted to quit. He talked about leaving. But he stayed. He pushed through. That struggle showed on screen. When you watch Joker's face, you're seeing an actor who is barely holding together. That's not character acting. That's real exhaustion and real doubt. Modine has said in interviews that making the film was one of the hardest things he's ever done. But he also says it was one of the most important things. The pain created something beautiful and honest. His face in that movie is the face of a real person pushed to the edge. You can't fake that kind of fragility. It came from a real place of suffering. That's why his performance resonates so deeply. It wasn't just movie, it was real life turned into art. Number 13. The film was shot in sequence. Most movies jump around. They film the ending first, then the middle, then the beginning. Kubrick filmed Full Metal Jacket in sequence, start to finish. This meant the actors experienced the story the way the audience would. They started as civilians and gradually became soldiers. They didn't know what was coming next. They didn't know what Kubrick would throw at them. This created a real emotional journey. The actors weren't pretending to be confused. They were confused. They weren't pretending to be traumatized by what they'd seen. They were actually experiencing the trauma of the story in real time. By the end of filming, they were different people. They had lived through this story together. That shared experience created chemistry and authenticity that you can't fake. The film feels real because the actors actually went through something real, in order, just like soldiers do in war. It wasn't a technical choice. It was an emotional one. Number 12. Kubrick used real weapons. Every gun, every weapon, every piece of military equipment was real. Not props, not replicas. Real weapons. The military consultant on set made sure everything was authentic. Actors had to learn how to handle them properly. They had to understand the weight, the feel, the power of real weapons. This changed how they moved. This changed how they held themselves. Holding a real rifle is different from holding a prop. Your body knows the difference. Your instincts know the difference. This authenticity seeped into their performances. They weren't pretending to be soldiers. They were holding what soldiers hold. They were standing like soldiers stand. The realness of the weapons made the acting more real. It's a small thing, but it matters. Kubrick never settled for fake when real was available. He believed that actors' bodies would respond differently to real objects, and he was right. Everything you see soldiers do in that film is informed by real military equipment. That's why it feels so genuine. Number 11. The Vietnamese actress was only 16. Papillon Sao, who played the sniper, was just 16 years old when she filmed that scene. She was a child. She had to act in a war film surrounded by violent imagery and intense adults. She had never acted before. She had no experience handling stress like this. But Kubrick cast her anyway because she had something real in her eyes. Innocence mixed with danger. Youth mixed with desperation. A child trapped in a war. That juxtaposition was exactly what the character needed. She wasn't traumatized by experience. She was traumatized by circumstances. Watching a teenager perform in such heavy material was difficult for everyone on set, but it made the scene more powerful. You're watching a child, and that's heartbreaking. It's supposed to be heartbreaking. Kubrick understood that the most powerful performances sometimes come from the most vulnerable people. Age wasn't a barrier, it was an asset. That young actress carried the weight of the film's emotional climax on her teenage shoulders. She became an immortal part of cinema history before she was old enough to vote. Number 10. The score was built from silence. Most war films use dramatic orchestral music. Full Metal Jacket uses almost no music at all. Long sections have nothing but natural sound. Gunfire, wind, voices, silence. Kubrick believed that real war isn't accompanied by a soundtrack, so he created a film that mostly lived in quiet. When music finally arrives, it hits harder because you've been without it for so long. The opening scene uses Born to Be Wild. The song feels shocking because you've been in silence. That contrast is powerful. Most directors would fill every moment with emotional music cues. Kubrick trusted silence more than he trusted music. He trusted the actors' faces more than he trusted strings and horns. This choice made the film feel more real. War is loud sometimes and silent sometimes. It's unpredictable. The score mirrors that unpredictability. It's there, and then it's not. You're unsettled, you're uncomfortable. That's exactly how Kubrick wanted you to feel. The absence of music became a character in itself. Number 9. Every extra was a real soldier. The background soldiers, the people in the streets, the crowds, many of them were actual military personnel. Kubrick hired real soldiers to stand around. Real soldiers move differently than actors. They have a different posture, a different awareness, a different way of holding their bodies in space. That authenticity radiated into every frame. Even when you couldn't see the soldiers clearly, you could feel their realness. The extras weren't pretending. They were being. This is a small detail, but it's why the film feels so immersive. You're not watching actors pretend to be in a war zone. You're watching actual military people existing in a constructed war zone. The texture of reality permeates everything. Other films use acting extras. Kubrick used real people. It cost more money. It took more time to coordinate, but it was worth it. The film carries a weight of authenticity that audiences feel without always knowing why. It's because every person on screen, down to the background soldiers, brought real military knowledge and real military bearing to their roles. That's obsession. That's genius. That's Kubrick. Number 8. The boot camp section took 5 months. The first half of the film, the training sequence, was filmed for 5 months straight. 5 months of repetition, intensity, and psychological pressure. 5 months of Kubrick yelling cut and restarting the scene. 5 months of the same dialogue, the same blocking, the same emotional beats. By the end of 5 months, the actors weren't learning anymore. They were surviving. That pressure created something authentic. You can feel the weariness in their eyes. You can sense the mental exhaustion. This wasn't a quick shoot. This was a marathon. It was intentionally grueling. Kubrick wanted the actors to feel what recruits feel: boredom mixed with terror, routine mixed with chaos, monotony mixed with moments of intensity. 5 months allowed all of that to settle into their bones. Their performances weren't fresh and energetic. They were tired and real. That's the boot camp experience, and Kubrick made the actors live it. The authenticity cost 5 months of their lives, but it created a 30-minute sequence that feels like a documentary. That's the power of extended, intense, controlled suffering in service of art. Number 7. The battle sequence was filmed in a real warehouse. The second half of the film, the actual combat sequence, was shot in an abandoned warehouse in London. There was no Vietnam. There was no location shooting. Just a warehouse with debris and rubble created to look like a war zone. Kubrick constructed an entire city block inside 4 walls. The illusion is so complete that you believe you're watching real combat footage. The camera work, the editing, the sound design, everything conspires to convince you that this is a real place. But it's not. It's a stage. It's artifice. That's the incredible paradox of this film. The most artificial production becomes the most real-feeling result. Kubrick understood that cinema is illusion. He understood that audiences know it's illusion. So instead of hiding the artifice, he perfected it until the illusion became more powerful than reality. The warehouse became Vietnam. The actors became soldiers. The constructed space became the space of truth. What looked like location shooting was actually meticulous studio construction. That's not cheating. That's the highest form of filmmaking. It's building belief from scratch. Number 6. Kubrick shot over 1 million feet of film. For a 2-hour movie, Kubrick shot over 1 million feet of film. That's thousands of hours of footage. Most of it was never used. Most of it was discarded. Imagine the waste. Imagine the cost. But Kubrick understood that to get one perfect take, you sometimes need to shoot 200 imperfect ones. He wasn't interested in efficiency. He was interested in perfection. He would shoot the same scene from different angles, different distances, different lighting setups. He would shoot it with different emotional intensities. He would shoot until he found the truth. This approach is almost incomprehensible to modern filmmakers. Today, budgets are tighter, timelines are shorter. Kubrick worked in a different era. He had the resources and the stubbornness to pursue perfection relentlessly. That 1 million feet of film represents a commitment to excellence that's almost religious. Every shot you see in the final film was chosen from thousands of alternatives. The waste funded the perfection. It looked easy, but it required an almost insane level of dedication and resources. Number 5. Private Pile's actor gained 70 pounds. Vincent D'Onofrio, who played Private Pile, was instructed by Kubrick to gain 70 pounds before filming. He ate constantly. He ate between takes. He ate until he was visibly uncomfortable. He was supposed to represent a soldier who doesn't fit in, a body that doesn't belong in the military. The physical transformation made his performance authentic. He wasn't acting being overweight. He was being overweight. His discomfort was real. His breathing was labored. His movements were sluggish. All of that informed his performance. Then, after filming the first half, he had to lose it all. 70 pounds back off in a few weeks. The physical strain was enormous. His body was confused. His mind was exhausted. But that experience informed the second half of his performance. He had been broken down and rebuilt, just like his character. D'Onofrio's transformation mirrors the film's transformation. It's method acting taken to an extreme. It's an actor willing to destroy his own body for a role. That kind of commitment is rare. That kind of dedication to authenticity is rarer still. It created a performance so real that people still talk about it decades later. Number 4. The film was controversial because of its accuracy. The military community didn't love this film. It was too honest. It showed soldiers as flawed, cruel, racist, and traumatized. It didn't glorify warfare. It didn't make soldiers look heroic. It made them look human, too human for some. Kubrick received criticism from military officials. Some said it was unpatriotic. Some said it dishonored soldiers. But veterans loved it. Actual soldiers who had been to war recognized their own experience in the film. They saw themselves. They saw the truth that the military community wanted to hide. The controversy came from honesty. The film was accurate, and accuracy made some people uncomfortable. This is the power of truthful art. It disturbs. It challenges. It refuses to let the audience hide from difficult realities. Kubrick wasn't making propaganda. He was making reality. The fact that reality was controversial says more about expectations than about the film. What looked like criticism was actually confirmation that the film had achieved its goal. It had captured something true. That truth made people uncomfortable. That discomfort was the point. Number 3. The film predicted real military issues. Years after the film came out, documentaries and investigations revealed that hazing, racism, and psychological abuse were widespread in military training. The film's depiction of Drill Sergeant Hartman's brutal methods wasn't exaggerated. It was documented reality. What Kubrick put on screen matched what was actually happening in real boot camps. The film became a prophetic document. It showed reality before investigations confirmed that reality. This is the power of an artist observing closely and translating observations into art. Kubrick spent time with military consultants. He listened to their stories. He understood the system. Then he created a visual representation that was so accurate it became a historical record. Young people who watched the film understood military culture better than people who lived it. The film educated through truthfulness. It didn't judge. It didn't preach. It just showed. The accuracy created impact. What looked like artistic interpretation was actually documentary observation. The film's greatest power wasn't that it entertained, it was that it enlightened. It showed people something they needed to see, but didn't want to look at. Number 2. The final scene was filmed 17 times. The scene where the soldiers sing while walking through rubble was filmed over 17 times. 17 different versions. 17 different emotional approaches. Kubrick wanted the exact right balance of dark humor, trauma, and camaraderie. He wanted them to sound like soldiers who had seen hell but were still alive. Still human. Still able to laugh. Finding that balance took 17 attempts. 17 times the actors had to sing. 17 times they had to find the emotional center. By the 17th take, something shifted. The actors found something beyond acting. They found something true. The camera captured a moment where the performance and reality merged. That's the take Kubrick used. That's the ending you see. It's not the best sung version. The words aren't perfect. But emotionally, it's transcendent. It captures everything the film is trying to say. Soldiers sing because they have to keep going. They sing because silence would break them. They sing because humans need to express, and songs are how soldiers express. That moment, that final image, that final song, it took 17 attempts to film. But it only took one true moment to say everything the film needed to say. Number 1. Kubrick never went to Vietnam. This is the strangest fact. Kubrick never left England. He never visited Vietnam. He shot the entire film in London. He never experienced the place where the story happens. Yet the film feels more real than films actually shot in Vietnam. How is that possible? It's possible because Kubrick understood that cinema isn't about location. It's about psychology. It's about creating a space where truth can live. He didn't need to be in Vietnam. He needed to understand the experience, and he did. Through research, through interviews, through consultation, through obsessive attention to detail, he created a Vietnam that's more authentic than documentaries. This is the ultimate power of filmmaking. You don't need reality. You need the essence of reality. You need to understand what things mean, how they feel, what they represent. Kubrick had all of that. He translated it into images and sound and movement. He built truth from artifice. He created Vietnam from a warehouse. He showed real war through constructed sets and controlled performances. The film works because Kubrick understood something profound. Cinema is about inner truth, not outer location. The greatest war film ever made was created entirely in England by a director who refused to compromise on authenticity or perfection. That's not just filmmaking, that's genius. Bonus fact: the lost interview with Kubrick. There's a legendary interview where Kubrick explains his entire creative philosophy for the film. He discusses why he cast the actors the way he did. He explains why he shot for 5 months on the boot camp. He reveals that he considered filming the entire movie silent, with only music. He talks about showing the film to real military personnel and watching their reactions. He describes the moment he realized the film was working. But this interview was filmed on videotape in 1987, and much of it was never officially released. For decades, film students and historians tried to track it down. They heard about it in archives. They knew it existed, but it was locked away, forgotten, lost to time. Only recently have pieces of it surfaced. Kubrick's voice, his explanation of his own genius, preserved in tape, but scattered across decades. It's like finding pieces of a puzzle that explain the entire picture. To hear Kubrick explain his own mind, his own process, his own obsession, it would rewrite how we understand this film. But that tape remains mostly hidden. One small choice to archive an interview led to generations trying to recover it. Old tools, new mysteries. Full Metal Jacket is more than a war film. It's a study of what humans become under pressure. It's a story about the space between who we are and who we're forced to be. Kubrick made a film about transformation, trauma, and the strange dark humor that helps us survive. He did it by refusing to compromise, by pushing his actors to their limits, by building truth from artifice, and by caring more about honesty than comfort. The film reminds us that every image has a story, every performance costs something, and every moment of cinema requires sacrifice. If you enjoyed these stories, subscribe for more. Every movie hides a truth, and we'll keep uncovering them, one story at a time.